Christmas can be enjoyed in so many ways. You can decide to chill with your friends or family and decide to just have that special meal together. We as Foods 254 decided to bring you a very special dessert. Today you're joined by Shali, baked by Leken.
Yes, thank you.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
Foods 254.
Yeah.
Feel at home.
Thank you. Okay, so my name is Shali Leken and I'm grateful to be here on Foods 254. Thank you so much. And baking is my superpower. So today we are going to be preparing a sort of a traditional cake that has been made for a long time, and especially around Christmas, and that is a very rich fruit cake. And I'm just so glad to be here with you guys to show you what's going down. So thank you.
And I'm very sure people are waiting to see what next.
Yeah,
fruit cake.
Yeah, fruit cake. I know, and it's actually a cake. I'm sure mostly in Kenya, people usually bake during weddings and stuff. So I think I wanted to just show that it's something that can be made at home. It's not that difficult, and you can try something new for Christmas this
The
time.
Leken style.
Yeah, the Leken style. You don't have to always do chapati. You can still do something else. Yeah. So yeah, that's it.
The ingredients, where do we start from?
We can start from
My far end.
Yes, your far end. A fruit cake actually is a very, I think it's one of the oldest recipes of cake, because I think it began around the 1800s with those Roman guys, those soldiers. So I think the recipe has evolved over time, and today I'm just going to do a very simple one. So we have some water over here, and then this is some whipped cream. We're going to use that for later. This is some baking powder, some eggs. These are some raisins. You can just get in the supermarket, super easy. This is sugar. We need two types of sugar. This is white sugar, the kawaida used for tea, and then this is brown sugar. Yeah, you can also get it in the supermarket. And then we have some, you can use butter or margarine, whichever. Butter is good. It has like a more professional taste.
Flavor.
Yeah, than margarine.
More professional.
We don't need to use that. But you can still use butter.
Okay.
These are some spices, just some mixed spices you can get in the supermarket. Some salt. These are also some dried fruits. They are called sultanas. They're also in the supermarket, any supermarket. Some more spices, some more dry fruits. These are sprinkles for later when you're decorating your cake if you wish. This is baking soda, but if you go to the supermarket, it's called bicarbonate of soda. So don't be shocked if the attendant is not showing you where it is, because it just has another name. Yeah, and then you're going to use an orange, and these are some of our equipment we're going to use as the time goes by. You'll also need some flour and some flavor. And when it comes to the flavor, I wouldn't encourage really to get the one. There's this one that we're used to see in the supermarket. I wouldn't encourage you to get that
Which one. Is it the vanilla?
Yeah, it's still vanilla flavor, but I wouldn't encourage that one because it won't really bring out the taste of the cake the way you'd want it. So I'd prefer you do your research and find some cake stores in Kenya. You can get some good vanilla flavor. Don't
just pick any vanilla.
Don't pick any vanilla. Yes. And then also here we have some baking equipment. We'll just explain them as time goes.
Okay.
Yes, and how to use them. Yes. So we'll begin to bake the cake. This is going to look a little bit strange, but the first thing we're going to need is a sufuria and a source of heat. And the first ingredient we'll use, remember that in baking, everything is measured. You measure rice and water.
Yeah.
That's how you're supposed to measure everything. For this recipe, we're going to make approximately 1 kilo of cake. And the first thing we'll need to do is to measure our raisins into the sufuria. So we're going to use about half a cup of raisins. So yeah, you just try and be patient if you want a good product.
So how sure are you that it's gonna produce 1 kg of cake?
Okay, so this is my recipe. I have researched about it. I have seen other people who've done this cake before, and I've seen how they used to, what they did to bake their cakes. We can add a little more. It never hurt anyone. So, how they used to do their cakes. Cake, when you're baking a cake, you need to do a lot of research, and then before you can make your own thing. Yeah. So for me, I did a lot of research. I saw how other people were baking their fruit cakes, and then I decided to come up with my own recipe. Okay. Yeah. So those are raisins. The next thing, yeah, that's enough. And the next thing we're going to need is the sugars. We'll use both brown and white sugar. So the measuring cups are not expensive, by the way. They're a good investment, and you can just get them at any supermarket. And then a trick for measuring, make sure you always flatten the top to make sure you every time maybe you make this fruit cake, you always know the measurement. Because if one time your sugar is heaped, one time your cake is too sugary or less sugary, yeah? So you heap it there. The next now is the white sugar. So same thing, just measure it into the half cup. Yeah. And they usually say by the baking is a science. So yeah, it's not me who said. It's them. They say it. So I have had a lot of, I've gone through a lot in order for me to learn that I have to measure everything. Okay. Yeah, so just have to learn how to measure. So that's it. So like I mentioned, it seems strange that we are starting from a sufuria. But you remember the raisins? They're a bit dry, so we need to kind of heat them up to become a little soft so that when you're eating into the cake, you're not biting a rock. You get? However, there are other variations of fruit cake when people soak these raisins into ram, So you soak the raisins into ram, they become soft, and then you don't have to boil it in the sufuria. Anyway, the next thing we're going to use is some spices. Okay, just to mention a few, we'll need, these are mixed, yes, the mixed spices. So mixed spices you'll get in any supermarket, and we're going to be using spoons now. Yeah, so it's easy for you to know this is a teaspoon, this is a tablespoon. So for the mixed spices, we're just going to be using...
this is a tablespoon?
This is actually a teaspoon.
A teaspoon? Okay.
Yes. Okay. Just a teaspoon and another one. Those are about 2 teaspoons. And then the next spice you're going to be using is ginger. Yes, okay. Yes, some ginger. And then there's something I've noticed about ginger. It's a bit overpowering. I don't know. So what I do, I just measure like a quarter on the. You see this tiny one? Yeah. Yeah, a quarter teaspoon on it. Just put it there. Yeah. And then the last is the nutmeg. Yes. I think nutmeg is the most expensive of these, but it's amazing. So I just use like 1 teaspoon of it. The next thing, it's the butter or margarine. Okay. Yes, like I said before, I like butter. It's tastier, but I prefer to use margarine, 1/3 cup of butter. 1/3? Yes. So what you do, you just scoop a bit, put it in the cup, and then remember, you flatten it so that you make sure you're always making the same type of cake every time. Yes, and then the last thing is water. Yes, water. We're going to use just 1 cup of water. Yeah, maybe you can just pour a cup. So after that, there's this tool. This is called a rubber spatula. It's a good investment, especially if you want to be serious about baking. Yeah, it's a good one because it's usually a bit softer. Cakes don't need to be mixed like ugali. You need to be very gentle.
You don't need to be strong about it.
Yeah. Yes. So this is the first step of making the fruit cake. So we're just going to mix it up a little bit. So like I said before, you're trying to soften the raisins. But if you had soaked the raisins in ram, you don't need to do this step. you have to see all the margarine melted or the butter that you're going to use there. So you just give it like a few minutes. This is what we call our wet ingredients, except for the eggs, which we'll add later. So the next thing is to measure our dry
ingredients.
Our dry ingredients. So
At least I know that.
yes. So the first thing is our flour. Please don't use self-raising flour because it usually has, I think it's baking powder already in it. Yes. So we are going to use more baking powder. You always want your measurements to be accurate. Okay. So you don't be a little off. So we're going to scoop again. We're going to do 2.5 cups of flour for this recipe. Like I said, it usually makes about 1 kilo or more of cake. And always when we bake, we're always going to sift the flour in case maybe there are any lumps or something. Yeah, we can do that. Yes, so you can sift. When your butter has melted, you lower the heat. You bring it to a low simmer. You see those two bubbles? Yeah, you just let it be. I always have my watch in the kitchen because I always have to time everything. So I just time like 4-5 minutes. Yeah, and then I'll switch off the heat. Yeah, so we just leave that for like the next 4 minutes. The next dry ingredient we're going to sift is baking powder. So baking powder, we're still using our measuring spoons, yeah? That's 1 teaspoon. And then that's another teaspoon. That's the last one. Yeah, baking powder is a raising agent, so it makes the cake rise, exactly. Yeah, and then the other raising agent is baking soda.
There's baking powder and baking soda.
They're two different things. This one is to rise the cake, but this one is mostly especially used if the cake has something acidic. It usually counteracts the acidity or something. It's just some science, boring stuff. Boring science. Yeah. So for the baking soda, we're just doing half a teaspoon. Yeah. And then the last, always use salt in a cake. Always. You know how salt is always like used to enhance a flavor. Yeah. Even cake
taste just becomes.
Yes. So we're just gonna do 1 teaspoon of salt. Make sure it's properly mixed. You have to wait for this to cool down. It normally takes around 40 minutes. And then the next step now will be to add the eggs, to add the vanilla, and then we have also some other dried fruits that we are going to add. So what I have here is sultanas, and these are called mixed peels. These are all things you can get. Mixed peels. Okay. Yeah, they usually, I believe they're like dried peels of fruits. Then, yeah, so you can get them at the supermarket also. And then just put them there. And then these are the dried peels. You remember our orange?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I like this stuff because they usually feel citrusy, like an orange. So that's why I add a zest. We are going to grate the peel of the orange. That's what we call orange zest. So you just grate it, but don't go too far.
Too deep.
Yeah, don't go too deep. Yeah, just grate. You'll just need the peel of 1 orange, the zest of 1 orange. Yeah. After you've gotten your zest out of the orange peel, you can slice your orange in like half. Just slice it. Take that. You can take that. You can decide to eat that half. Or normally for me, I just squeeze. Yeah. I just squeeze the juice. Yeah. And just let it soak into this. Just squeeze. Yeah. Okay, normally I use the whole orange because I don't eat oranges. But now that you're here, you can eat it. Yeah. So we wait for 40 minutes for this to cool down. And also what you should do is always preheat your oven. You can't bake without preheating your oven. Yeah. So what happens, normally for me, the easiest way for me to do this cake is I wait for 20 minutes, I go and preheat my oven. If you have an electric oven, which is the one that I mostly use, you preheat your oven to around 170 degrees Celsius for 20 minutes. So I've let this cool for 20 minutes. I've started to preheat my oven so that by the time the next 20 minutes of preheating are over, my cake is ready to, sorry, don't waste electricity. But just so you know, it doesn't use a lot. It doesn't use a lot of electricity. Yeah.
Okay, let's wait for 40 minutes. We will be back. Our 40 minutes are done. Take us to the next step.
So after 40 minutes, your mixture has cooled down a bit. There's a shell. So after that is done, we come back to our mixture over here. We pour the eggs in. You remember this mixture where you grated the peel of the orange? You also pour it in. We need to measure a few teaspoons of vanilla flavor, around 3. So that's 1, 2, 3. Yes. You just mix now. You make sure you combine well. You mix. Then now we're going to add our dry ingredients. So when you're adding the dry ingredients, you do it in steps. Like you just put a bit. Yeah.
You don't just
like
put
dump
once.
it all in. Yeah, like started like that. When your first batch is coated with the mixture, you put in the next one. Yeah, put in maybe just the half of that. Don't overmix it. It's dangerous to overmix cake. Yeah. So the next thing, we're now going to put our cake in our cake pans. So what we have here, it's called parchment paper or baking paper. You can find it in most supermarkets, by the way. You can take a small piece of paper, and then you see this butter that we have remaining, just take a bit, the margarine, just take a bit, and then you have to grease the bottom so that the paper will stick. Yeah, so just grease a bit, yeah. You now take this and you put at the bottom. So you put it in the cake pan. That's the first one. Then in the second one. Sorry. So drop it a bit, like that.
Let me drop it. From here?
Yes, so that removes air bubbles. So these ones are going now to the oven, our preheated oven, at a the preheated oven for about 25 minutes. Yeah, so these ones are going to the oven for 25 to 30 minutes at 170 degrees.
Now that we've taken our butter to the oven, we're going to wait for 20 to 25 minutes.
Yes.
For
170 degrees Celsius to bake the cakes.
And for the purpose of demonstrating, we already have a
Baked.
pre-baked cake
Yes.
that we are going to decorate together.
Yes.
So just take us to the next step.
Okay, so our pre-baked cakes are actually just the same recipe that we just used, but I just baked them in smaller pans. Okay. Yeah, so it's just the same recipe. And to decorate our cakes, I normally use something called chocolate ganache. I know it sounds fancy, but honestly, chocolate ganache is the simplest thing. Actually, what chocolate ganache is just a mixture of two things. Dark chocolate and whipped cream. So when you're decorating your cakes, we have about 4 layers of cake. This is the first, second, the third, and the fourth. So we are each going to use 2 layers.
Okay.
Yeah. So the first layer of cake, we place it on a cake board. Cake boards are things you can find on cake stores. These are just some fancy ones. I usually like them.
And the color is really
It's cute.
nice, yeah.
Yeah, it's cute. So you place when you're placing your first cake, you can take a bit of frosting, and then this is for the purposes of sticking the cake.
Oh.
Yeah, so that maybe when you're carrying it, it doesn't like move around. Yeah.
Dance.
Yeah, it doesn't dance. We don't want that.
Okay.
So yeah, that's good. So you just stick it there.
you?
Yes. So you take your first batch of cream, and then if you're serious about baking, invest in these. These are called turntables. It's easier to decorate a cake. It's easier to decorate a cake when you have a turntable. So yeah, you just hold your cake and you just swipe. What is that?
How do you manage to do this? And
It's a bit hard. You can just let it go.
Oh, okay.
And then when you're decorating, you're using something called an offset spatula. It looks like this with this angle.
is this side?
Yeah. So don't paste it like Blue Band. Just spread it. Be gentle. Be nice.
Be nice.
Be nice. Spread it around. Can you put the next one?
Yeah. I'm ready.
So, normally when you want to decorate a cake, you use the flattest part of the cake. And then you place the next one. Try and look for a nice angle, like a center. And then you take some more frosting, Yeah, you take some more. So, for me, you see I'm trying to fill the gaps over here. I think you've used more frosting than me. It's okay. There's a design of cake that looks like that.
Wow. Hope it's not a joke.
You're going to stay with your cake the way it looks. Anyway, I think the thing that we'll do now.
Let me just
I'm not going to help you though.
Let me finish this part.
Which part?
There's
There
a
are
part.
so many parts to finish.
There's one part.
Sorry.
Wow.
This thing is called a bench scraper. You can use this one. You use it to scrape off excess frosting, like this on the side.
So I hold Shani,
Yeah.
are we working together? Is it because I'm so sharp? So where am I holding it? Which side? Huh? This side or this side? This side. Okay. Let's go.
Okay, actually, yeah, like that. You're doing better than I expected, actually. It's true. So, the next thing you do, your cakes, you put it in the fridge because there's something else we need to do to decorate them. So you just have to take it to the fridge for just 10 minutes. Yeah, that's it. Okay, so after we took out our ganache from the microwave, we only warmed it for 30 seconds and it formed a nice paste. So you let it cool down a bit so that it forms like a thick consistency. So now we're going to drip around the whole cake. So, yes, like that. You want to maybe do a straight line and then you drip, yeah, here. I can show you after I'm done with this line, just like that. Where is it? Yeah. What? As in, your drip is even cuter than the cake. Wow. It's cute by the way. I think to use the rest, because your top is so hilly, I'm going to use the rest. Yeah, yours it has like Mabonde and Mauti.
What's that? What's Maori?
So what I've done, I've just dropped the rest of the ganache. Just add a bit of color to our cake. So we're going to use some sprinkles, rainbow sprinkles around, just around it. So they're safe to eat. This is our final cake. Yeah. Yeah.
But I love the color.
Me too. I
And,
like the color.
yours actually came out nice and
Thanks.
very good.
Yeah.
I'm a first timer.
For actually, like I said, I think my cake almost looked like this, the first one that I did. But baking needs a lot of practice. Yeah.
Do you do other cakes, other different type of cakes
Yes.
apart from this?
Actually, this is one of my most requested cakes, I have to say. It's done really well. And also I do other cakes. I'm sure you can find me on my Instagram and Facebook. My page is on Instagram, it's at baked_by_Leken. And also on Facebook, Baked by Leken. You can find me there. You can DM me and then we can talk about pricing and everything. And actually right now for the festive season, I have an offer for free cupcakes for every 2 kilos of cake.
Wow.
Yes. So
No one should miss that.
don't miss that, because at least it gives you an opportunity to try out other flavors of cake. Yes.
Well, that's it for today's show. Wherever you are, enjoy. But remember, we wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Merry Christmas.